Okay, we're going to do the second part of this tutorial now, and by the end of this we're going to have a product that we're going to turn in. So we've got our basketball or whatever it was that you picked, something simple, and now we're going to pick something that's a little more challenging. So I'm going to go to, I've opened up my doc from the last time, and hopefully you remember where you kept it. Just keep in mind, this is a new program for me as well, probably for you, and so there's a lot of trial and error going on here. I'm going to go ahead and really challenge myself, and I'm going to pick kittens. Okay, and I found this cat. Now, I'm going to tell you, I don't like cats, but I want to do something that's got a little bit more of a challenge, and this cat's got some crazy fur here. So I'm going to pick this cat. It's kind of cute for a cat. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and copy this image, go back to PhotoPeat, and we want to paste this image. Now, there is a shortcut. Control-V should paste it. However, I haven't had much luck with that. I've had a lot more luck with going to Edit, Paste. And there my cat is. Now, if I want to move it around, I can use the top or hit V for shortcut, move. If your cat that you picked or your animal that you picked is too big, remember that we can transform it, okay, by going to Edit, Transform. And the simplest way is to maybe scale it and reduce it down this way to maybe 50%. If you can see the handles, then you can simply hold down Shift, and you can make it larger, you can make it smaller, okay? You want to try to keep that Shift held down though, so that you don't get a really fat cat or a really squished cat. Okay, so I'm going to hit OK or Enter. Now we'll see that the basketball is on top, and that's because just like in Photoshop, whatever sits on top of the top layers are going to show first. Okay, but we're going to work within this cat. So I'm going to make sure that this is selected. Okay. And I'm going to go back to this set of tools, but this time I'm going to use the Quick Select tool. And we've used the Quick Select tool before in Photoshop. However, this may be a little bit different, okay, than you're used to. It's kind of fun, actually. Okay, so we've got this, and you're going to see these objects up here. We're going to hit Refine Edge, okay? And when we do that, yours is probably going to look like this, okay? We have our working side, and then we have our product side, okay? I'm going to use a black background because that will really stand out against my cat. Now, I'm only using the background for while I remove the background, if that makes sense. Okay, now you'll see up here that we've got what they call a tri-map, okay, a tri-color map. We have white, which is going to show things. We have gray, which is going to hide some edges, and then we have black, which is going to hide everything. Okay, so the first thing we'll do is we'll go ahead and paint a little bit on this cat. And see how it's showing things? Okay, now we're not going to be, zoom in just a little bit, we're not going to be just super particular about this, although we are going to, my mouse for one thing is really a crappy mouse. For a Bluetooth mouse, it really sucks. So I'm going to go ahead and get the edges here. Now I see that, okay? If I thought it was too much, by the way, your bracket keys will raise your brush and lower your brush. Trying to get all that like fur that's popped out there. Okay, this little guy looks a little rough. I could take this black, go back, see what I'm doing there? I can make it a little closer. just to make it easier. I don't want to be, though, so exact because I need to get this fur out here. Now, if I've got obvious spots where I screwed up, okay, I could make it just a little tighter if I like. However, if I screw up like I just did, I got to go back in and paint to show. Okay, so that look not bad. That cat's looking a little rough though. We're going to bring his, whoops, we're going to bring his, like I said, this mouse of mine, woo, should get on Amazon today and get a new one. Okay, so we've got this going on right here. Now, this is rough. We're not going to bring this back into Photoshop, or I'm sorry, PhotoP, and try to clean it up like this. It's just too much of a challenge with all that fur flying around. So instead, we're going to take advantage of this gray, okay? And on this, let me zoom in just a little bit more here. We're going to go on the edge of where this fur is, okay? Now, I don't have to be like super exact. It's looking pretty sweet, isn't it? Okay, now I can also go here. Now, if I want to get a sharper edge, mine is kind of a fluffy edge there. I'm going to make it a little sharper. Sorry, that should have been sharp right there. Let's see. Let's see if it looks any different on that. Okay, so let's go back to this. I'm going to go back to this edge. And I seem to think, for whatever reason, that the more you go to the left, the harder it is. And the more you go to the right, the softer it is, which is completely opposite of Photoshop. But I'm going to go to the middle. Because like I said, I'm teaching myself this program, so it's a lot of trial and error. Now, right now, I've got a super big brush, so I'm going to use my bracket keys if it'll let me. If it won't let me, then I'm going to just take my slider. See if I can get that to close back in there. Okay, and I'm going to brush along this edge. You are going to be amazed when you see this. I think it's pretty dang good. Now I can tweak it a little bit with my sharpness of that brush, but like I said, I think it's the opposite. It's looking pretty good, isn't it? Woo. Okay. And I'll show you, she's got a little fur popped out of there, and I'm going to show you in a minute. We can go back and get that, I think. Again, I hope you have a better mouse than I do, or maybe you are going to be using your finger. Let's also take this border. Let me take this border. I think if we could reduce this border, that would help too. However, I think because I started it already, it won't let me go back. I got a lot of I thinks because this is totally new to me. Forced to think outside the box. Sorry, this mouse is crazy. Hey, that's not looking too bad, is it? Okay, but now a couple things. Got a little fluff and all that over here. So I wonder if I went back to black, if I could pull that in a little bit. There we go. See how I've pulled that in just a little? Have to be careful. You might have a better mouse than I'm using here. You could tweak that just a little bit more. You see how that's going to change it up just a little bit? I'm telling you what, this cat looks kind of good for a cat. Now I know I've got a white background selected on my end product that I'm working with today. So if I had that selected, one thing I could do is I could look at it transparently, okay, which sometimes shows you a little bit different too. And I could look at it, what it's going to look like on a white background. And I can see that I'm not crazy right here about this. So maybe I'll go back in. Clean them up just a little bit. And again, I think some of that has to do with this border, but I can't seem to get it to go down. Oops, no! I'll be back. Okay, I'm back. Do not, under any circumstances, press clear. You'll lose all your work. What the heck? One thing, so I had to start back over. Okay, so one thing is that if this gray gets too wide and you want this edge to be a little better, you can take your white and you can brush it closer to the edge. You see how that's going to change the look of it? And you can see up here, like by his tail, okay, I might want to get a little bit more of that edge. Now I just got a little bit of the background there, so I have to go back in there and get that gray. Okay, that didn't look too bad. Now, one thing I want to do is get back a little bit more of that white, though. See how that looks. Okay, that isn't bad. It really isn't. So now when what are we going to do with this? Okay, well, we have options. We could go to make it a new layer. We could mask it, and we could just have it as a selection. Okay, the new layer will put us back on PhotoPeat, back in the just as an extra layer. If we know that we want to clean up some of it yet, then we would pick a raster mask, because it would come in with a layer mask on it, or we could pick it as a selection, which would have the marching ants all the way around it. In this case, we're just going to say new layer. However, a lot of times in Photoshop, I would put it on a new layer with a raster mask, okay? But for here, we're making this simple. So we're going to hit new layer. We'll say okay. And now our cat is back. Okay, and we had this cat from before. Okay, there's our background, and then that's how we've cleaned him up. Now he doesn't look that great, but you know, cut us some slack. This is our first time doing it. If we wanted him to be behind the basketball, we'll simply pull that ball down. Okay, if we want that background to be back on, that maybe looks a little bit better. Okay, well, there you have it. Now, what will we do with this? Okay, we will go File. You could save it as a PSD, okay, in case you wanted to come back to it. And it will give a second name to it, okay. Or, in this case, we can export it as a JPEG. Okay, quality, man, we might want it halfway decent there. Now, right now I see that this is huge. However, I don't think that's going to matter. So we'll say save. And there we have it. We'll take this and we're going to turn this in to a Padlet so everyone can see your work. Make sure on this Padlet that you type your name so that I know it's yours. Did you have to pick a cat and a basketball? No, but you need to have two objects. And there you go.